hesitate to say, I don't want to listen, because I'm going to get all kind of crazy and let people fight.
The life of a millionaire pastor.
You got to humble yourself for God's plan in order for him to prosper your life.
I honestly believe this, that the reason why Jesus hadn't come is because people are not giving the way God told them to give.
I'm still a human being like you. Made many mistakes, big ones, and will still make mistakes. But I really want to do better.
Pastors are rich, like really rich. For instance, this is Creflo Dollar. He has a net worth of $27 million, and he's not even the richest one. He's one of the richest. So in this video, we're going to talk about pastors and their wealth. If you've ever been to a church, you've seen a box coming around asking for donations.
Nigga, get the collection plate around on that side. Nigga, get it around on that side.
This is called tithing, and is one of the main sources of income for churches. The church then uses this money to do outreach programs, help the homeless, and of course pay the bills for the church, the employees, the rent, the light bill, etc. The pastor is kind of like the CEO of the church, so he's included in that. He's included as an expense of the church, so maybe he gets a car, a housing allowance, a salary, etc. In the US, churches are not taxed because they are non-profit. So they don't have to pay income tax on any of the money they receive. They also don't have to disclose what they do with their money. So in 2015, the Senate Finance Committee decided to do an investigation into these churches and televangelists to see what they were doing with their money. They wanted to make sure the money was being spent appropriately. They got so much pushback from church lobbyist groups that they decided to just abandon the investigation. So church groups have a lot of power over US politicians. Creflo, along with a few others, preach something called the prosperity gospel. Basically, God blesses the faithful, and one of the ways he blesses them with is with wealth. And the pastors will make the argument that they're rich because they follow God's commandments. So if you do the same and follow God's commandments, you will be blessed with wealth. And this strategy works really well because one of the ways that you follow God's commandments is to listen to what the pastor is telling you to do, because he knows what to do, because he's rich, because he was faithful. So he's teaching you how to do it. It's kind of like the 21-year-olds who are renting a Lamborghini and then tell you, hey, do you want to learn how to make this money? Buy my ebook. They make all their money through the ebook. The pastors make their money from you giving them money. So they're able to convince people that if they support the ministry financially, and it's financially, it's no other way, it's financially. If you support the ministry financially, you will be blessed financially as well. They're convinced that this is God's will. And one of the ways they do this is to convince you that if you want something, you should rely on God to give it to you. So if you give your last dollar to the church and you can't pay your rent, you should pay to God and he will provide a way for you to pay your rent. But when the church pastor needs something, he will ask the congregation for the money.
Whatever you do right now, don't you stop tithing.
A good example of this is something called Project G650. So Creflo Dollar's church wanted a new private jet, and they asked the congregation for the money. The thinking was that if 200,000 people give $300 each, they can afford the plane. And the G650 at the time was the nicest, fastest, most expensive jet. Now, why does Creflo Dollar need a private jet to ride around in?
In which way is this jet important for your ministry?
Well, in order for me to do what I've been called to do, the airlines, they don't fly my schedule.
I knew it was time to begin to believe God for a new airplane.
Our current ministry plane is no longer usable. We need your help. And I ask all of our partners globally to get on board with Project G650.
Mary Jones plans on answering the pastor's call, even though she rides the bus 20 miles every Sunday to Dollar's church.
We support our pastor. That's what we're here for. The work that he do and where the Lord have him traveling, he doesn't need a cheap airplane. He need the best.
So why doesn't he just ask God for the money instead as he preaches? Another fascinating guy is Kenneth Copeland.
COVID-19!
COVID-19!
I blow the wind of God.
The wind of God.
On you.
On you.
He's worth $300 million. And a couple of years ago, he got a lot of pushback for explaining why he could not fly on a commercial jet.
Get in a long tube with a bunch of demons.
Right. That's exactly the
And it's deadly.
Do you really believe that human beings are demons?
No, I do not. And don't you ever say I did. Get in a long tube with a bunch of demons.
Right.
Get in a long tube with a bunch of demons.
Right.
Get in a long tube with a bunch of demons.
Right.
Do you really believe that human beings are demons?
No, I do not. And don't you ever say I did.
We heard you loud and clear, broski. And when it comes to tithing, he is equally unhinged. This clip is from 2020 during the lockdowns when people were locked in their homes and a lot of people were losing their jobs.
The fear of, what are we going to do? I'm getting laid off at work. Hey, your job's not your source. If it is, you're in trouble. Jesus is your source. Whatever you do right now, don't you stop tithing. Don't you stop sowing offerings. Well, they won't let us go to church. Well, email it in there, text give or something, but you get your tithe in that church. If you have to go take it down there and drop it off and stick it under the door or something, you get that tithe in that church, you get that offering in that church, and then you go home and you do what we're supposed to do.
Jesse Duplantis, who's worth $20 million, loves to brag about his wealth.
You'll have jewelry cost more in your house. Where I'm telling you, listen to me. I'm telling you. My first house cost $14,700. I'm giving you a chance to write your check out. $14,700. My second house cost $81,900, and this watch costs more than that.
But when he does it, it's not bragging. It's showing gratitude to God's grace. He also wanted a new private jet. It cost $54 million. And he told his congregation that God told him that I want you to have a new private jet, but I don't want you to pay for it. And when he received pushback for this statement, he simply said, if God was on earth today, or if Jesus Christ was on earth today, he would be riding a private jet. Now, none of these tactics would work if they just asked for money and did nothing. Sometimes they have to put on a show. Only Congress are able to ask for money without doing anything. This is Benny Hinn, and he has these performances where he brings people on stage and then heals them from ailments that no doctor could. In this example, he cures a woman with polio who ended up being an investigative reporter.
Remember that woman supposedly cured of polio? Pastor Benny knows it made for a great episode of his TV show. He knows it probably helped squeeze even bigger donations from his flock. But there's something he doesn't know.
That woman works for us. Woman doesn't have polio, never did. Then why did she say she had?
We put her up there to see if he could tell her story was not true, to see if it would matter, to see if he would ever check. So, Benny, is it faith or is it fraud?
If it was this easy to heal, or if he had received authority from God to heal people, why don't we just drop him off at the hospital and let him work his magic? However, Benny Hinn is nothing compared to Alf Lukau, a pastor from South Africa who allegedly raised the man from the dead.
Jesus!
Elliot. Hello, Elliot. Elliot. Elliot.
Jesus.
Lift your hands. Lift your hands. Sit.
Man is commanding life.
Rise up! Yes! Come on! Come on!
Hey! Rising up! Hey! Jesus!
He was there!
So the problem with this is that people who want to believe will say, I saw with my own eyes, and they will point to these meetings or experiences as excuses to keep giving money and keep believing. It's the same when people are spending their life savings on a $10,000 course from Dan Locke or Grant Cardone or one of these people because they want to believe they're desperate. So they will give any excuse in the book to keep believing. And apart from no income tax, the pastors also have a way to avoid real estate tax through something called the parsonage exemption. Basically, the pastor has a house. All he has to do is gift it to his church that he also owns. And because the church is nonprofit and exempt from all taxes, they don't have to pay real estate tax on their house. The parsonage exemption was created to make low-income pastors' lives a little bit easier, but it's being taken advantage of by these rich people. It's the same thing with the Roth IRA. It's a retirement tool that was created to help low and middle income people save for retirement, but it's being taken advantage of by billionaires. Do you know who else owns a church? Let me give you a hint.
I have the best advice for women in business. Get your f***ing ass up and work. It seems like nobody wants to work these days.
So the Kardashian family owns a church in California called California Community Church. Every member in the church has to pay a $1,000 per month membership fee, and they also have to give 10% of their income. Kim Kardashian also allegedly gives 10% of her income to this church. And rumor has it, they're using it to just hide the money from the IRS. And because there's no income tax requirement or requirement to disclose what you do with the money, it's pretty clear to see what's going on here. It's a great way to save money on taxes. So to close out this video, the takeaway is to stop believing random people on the internet when they tell you that you have to give them money to accomplish something. They want your money. If pastors are telling you you have to give them your money so you're going to get blessed financially, I mean, you just got to use this.
You ought to call, text, tell everybody he's on. Get ready for this word. The message is stay on.
Record levels, near record levels, the highest it's been really since about World War II. So I decided to do a little research.
And they're not going to preach the word that's going to make any difference in your life. Don't let them not preach some of it, let them preach a little of it, but
he actually remembers your birthday. Okay, it feels like a miracle, but it's not really a miracle, that's just unusual.
Pull up and order it and wait 6 weeks. But I got good news, you don't have to wait 6 weeks. Welcome to our eFam all over the world.
Take it! Take it! Take it! Take it! One hand, quick. One hand, I said, quick. Take that on!
Discouraging thoughts. Your dream is never going to come to pass. You'll never meet the right person.
I serve notice according to the 6th chapter of the book of Ephesians. In the